I think we can start. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to you all here in the room. I see that you are many here, which is not so usual in this time of COVID-19. And welcome also to the audience that follows us on YouTube, on our website, presse-club.ch, and also on Facebook Live. So today we will talk about Kashmir in the context of the Human Rights Commission. And we have 5 speakers here that will intervene on this question. And we will also have some persons jumping in by video. So this will last about 45 minutes, I guess, and then we will have some time for the question. And before just giving the word to Mr. Fahim Kayani, I just will ask you to all the speakers to sign our golden book, so you can do that during the time we just start here. Thank you very much. So now I give the floor to Mr. Fahim Kayani. So the floor is yours. Thank you very much and welcome. All good rule, always check the mic before, you never know. Thank you. The floor is yours, Mr. Fahim Kayani.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chief President, Geneva Press Club, for giving us this opportunity and providing us this excellent venue, and your team as well. We are very thankful to your team for excellent arrangement for this Kashmir conference. As you know, we have on this table Zaid Iqbal, President Tehreek Kashmir South Zone, Raja Sahid Saab, World Muslim Congress. Next to me, Mahmoud Sharif Saab, President Tehreek Kashmir Europe, Italy. Ijaz Ahmed Chaudhry Saab, President Tehreek Kashmir Switzerland. We have 3 messages as well today from one Altaf Hussain Wani. He's a chairman KIAR. And second message we have Shaista Safi. She's a youth activist. She is from Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. And Altaf Hussain Wani Saab is also from Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. And the third message we're going to show to our audience is former President of the United Nations General Assembly, Morgan Lokotov. So first I would like to request our media team to show the first message. Altaf Hussain Wani, who is the chairman KIAR, and he is from Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir as well. Thank you very much.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum, and good afternoon to all of you. Hello, Assalamu alaikum, and good afternoon to all of you. I welcome you all to the Geneva Press Club. Because of the travel restrictions, I could not be there personally. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, Kashmir is facing through a very crucial phase. As you know, on 5th of August 2019, India illegally and unilaterally annexed Kashmir, bifurcated state into 2 union territories, and then put all the population of Kashmir under siege, a total communication blackout. You can yourself imagine 13 months of communication blackout with military siege, how people will be living. This is one side of the human history, the worst kind of human rights violations people of Indian occupied Kashmir faced during these periods. And before this, we have seen from last 3 decades people of Kashmir who have been struggling for their right to self-determination have been subjected to worst kind of human rights violations by the Indian government, Indian forces with total impunity. But after August 5th, we have seen a different kind of suppression and subjugation by the Indian government. This was the fascist government's design to change the demographic of the Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir by giving domiciles to the non-state citizens of India to settle in Kashmir. India has so far issued over 1,700,000 domiciles to non-Kashmiris who can settle in Kashmir. They can buy and own the property in Kashmir. They can have jobs in Kashmir. That on one hand, India aims to defeat the UN Security Council resolutions aimed at right to self-determination of people of Jammu and Kashmir. On the other hand, to make the people of Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir landless, jobless, and force them to leave their homeland and to attack their culture, rewrite their history, caging all the civil spaces, not allowing journalists to write on the situation. No incident can be reported in the newspapers in Kashmir. Social media sites are under severe surveillance and they are worked under draconian laws, UAPA, for just posting on social media or writing on the incidents in Kashmir. All of the political leadership remains in the jail. After August 5th, we have seen more than 13,000 people were arrested, including children and women who languished in different Indian jails. Although the Human Rights Commissioner appealed to the governments to release the prisoners, the international governments responded. Even the fascist regimes responded to this call, but it was India. They did not respond to the calls of the High Commissioner to release the Kashmiri prisoners who are languishing in different Indian jails. Those who released were asked to give a surety bond that they will not speak against the Indian excesses in the public domain. This is the situation in Indian occupied Kashmir, and the people go through a worst phase of their history. Their education is gone, their agriculture is gone, their tourism industry is gone, and along with that, they are facing a double lockdown because of the COVID-19. Indian occupied Kashmir is becoming the epicenter of COVID-19 because of lack of the medical facilities. You know, on every 9 Kashmiris there is a soldier, but for every 7,100 Kashmiris there is a ventilator, and this is the situation in Kashmir, how people go. The doctors cannot download any information about the COVID-19 and cannot reveal any of the information about COVID-19 because of the low internet services provided over there. Scholars and students who had applied for the online classes in different universities around the globe, they failed to attend those classes and their education is almost gone. They can't continue their education. So the Indian state, all this Indian state is doing to create, to suppress the people's resistance for the right to self-determination. They say to the international community that there is normalcy in Kashmir. When you keep a soldier at every house, at every door of house, there is a soldier, a trigger hippie soldier, and with complete impunity, he can raid the house, he can go inside the house, he can arrest the people, and he can put them behind the bar, and even he can kill them, but nobody can ask him. And we have seen after August 15, on August 5th, 2019, the lots of people who were killed in extrajudicial executions in fake encounters. Recently, the examples are before us at Shupiam when three boys laborers from Rajouri, they were abducted, they were killed in a fake encounter and dubbed as terrorists. But later on it proved they were the poor laborers. And also in Sopor, Asif Dar, another young man, a businessman, he was abducted and killed in police custody, and later his dead body was thrown out. And likewise, journalists Masarat Zara, Gawhar Gilani, Ashik Pirzada, Shubli, and others, they were framed under UPAP, called to the police stations, and even yesterday, Akib, a young journalist, he was called to the cyber station police where he was tortured, he was abused, he was harassed there. So, in this kind of impunity, the international community bears the responsibility. You people bear the responsibility to write about Kashmir, to raise your voice for the voiceless Kashmiris who are demanding nothing but the right to self-determination as recognized by the UN Security Council. The UN has a responsibility, international community has a responsibility, international media has a responsibility. I will thank the international media for reporting on Kashmir, for making India cry because of the criticism. It was only because of you that international community came to know.
Altaf Hussain Wani, he belongs to Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. He left his home due to Indian brutal oppression when uprising started in 1989, and he's still living in exile. There are thousands of people like Altaf Wani, they can't go home. And as you know, Altaf Wani said there is a black laws are being operated by Indian government in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Under those black law, they can arrest anyone and put those people in the jail without any trial for 2 years. And as he mentioned as well, Indian brutal military occupation turned into colonialism, and India now is trying to control the resources of Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. And he has mentioned as well, India is not trying, but he has started the process of changing the demography of Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. And as he mentioned, 17,000 domiciles have been issued to non-Kashmiris, and 1.8 million Indians are in queue. This is the purpose of India, to change the demography, and this is against Geneva Conventions and all international human laws. So being a Kashmiri and being all the peace-loving people around the world, they are condemning all these actions which are being taken by the fascist Modi regime. Now I'm going to ask the media team to show the video message of Shaista Safi. She is from Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. And Shaista Safi, father Ghulam Mohammad Safi, who is a senior leader of All Party Hurriyat Conference, and he left his home as well in 1989 due to brutal Indian occupation, and he's living in exile as well. And so these are not only the stories of Altaf Hussain Wani or Ghulam Mohammad Safi Sahab. This is a story of every Kashmiris who have been living under brutal Indian occupation, subjugation and oppression for last 72 years. Now I would like the media team to show that of Shaista Safi.
Guilty of war crimes, crimes against humanity, ethnic cleansing, genocide, and now demographic change in Indian occupied Kashmir. Until a fact finding mission is sent to the ground To ascertain the real situation, the world will never truly know the level of oppression and subjugation by the Indian occupation machinery and the extent of mass gross human rights violations. We might be living in a world where information is just one click away, but still we do not know the full extent of what has happened in the last 14 months in Indian occupied Kashmir. With the additional Indian military forces sent to Kashmir, the total number of armed forces and military personnel now stand close to 1 million, further making Kashmir the densest military to civilian ratio in the world. And now, under this COVID-19 cover, India sent thousands of buses full of Indian migrants to Kashmir, as well as armed forces in civilian clothing, including intelligence operatives. Recall 2016, 2010, 2008, and the early 90s. Do you see any different picture of Kashmir? No. If anything, things have progressively gotten worse. Killings, molestations, rapes, curfews, lockdowns, raids, blanket ban on communication, closing down of educational institutions, offices and everyday life, destruction of economy, destruction of property and businesses. This is the story of Kashmir, not just from August 5, 2019, but since the occupation started in 1947. As a lobbyist and activist, the least I can do is narrate and share the plight of the people of Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and let the world know the techniques and tactics that the occupier uses to crush the will of people, such as rape, pallets, bullets, destruction of property, draconian laws, enforced disappearances, mass graves, torture, murder, and whatnot. We regularly expose the sinister plans and actions of the Indian state, but it is now the responsibility of those in power corridors to offer more than lip service and provide action. Those who can must do, instead of waiting, watching, condemning, and then apologizing later. Even Genocide Watch issued an alert for Kashmir. What is the world waiting for? The United Kingdom is preparing sanctions on individuals allegedly involved in human rights violations in Belarus, working with the United States and Canada to hold President of Belarus and his government accountable. What Slobodan Milosevic did in Kosovo and Bosnia pales in comparison to what the Indian civilian and military have done in Kashmir for 73 successive years. The only way to bring justice, peace, and security to Kashmir is by enforcing international law, applying the Geneva Conventions, and implementing the UN resolutions. And that is all the people of Kashmir ask for, the basic right to self-determination. I thank you all.
Commission, and they requested to both government, Pakistan and India, to give access to fact-finding mission of the United Nations, but India denied access to fact-finding mission of the United Nations. And Pakistan, as you know, that Pakistan has said any organization can come to a liberated part of Jammu and Kashmir, Azad Jammu and Kashmir, and they can assess the situation. But India is repeatedly denying the access to fact-finding mission of the United Nations, and this is it is now the UN responsibility to put pressure on India, and because we have seen that the United Nations took a preemptive decision on East Timor and resolved that issue. United Nations took a preemptive decision on Sudan and divided the Sudan on a religious basis. But unfortunately, Kashmir issue is unresolved, and it is the longest unresolved issue in the United Nations. And Kashmir issue is imposing a question mark on the credibility of the United Nations. Why United Nations not putting pressure on India? And why United Nations hasn't been able to implement all those resolutions which were passed by the Security Council? More than 18 resolutions have been passed by the Security Council, and those resolutions says clearly, first step is ceasefire. Second step is demilitarization. And third step is to hold a referendum, plebiscite, and let the people of Kashmir, people of Jammu and Kashmir to decide their future. We have seen 1/3 of resolution have been implemented. Was implemented on 1st March in 1940, 1st January in 1949, when when both countries, Pakistan and India, agreed to have a ceasefire, but 2/3 resolution haven't been implemented. Was demilitarization and to hold a plebiscite. As you know that former prime ministers of Pakistan categorically said in General Assembly, he said Pakistan is ready to demilitarize the region, and they need intervention of international community, assurance of the United Nations. India won't attack on the liberated part of Jammu and Kashmir, Azad Jammu and Kashmir, and Gilgit-Baltistan. But silence of the international community, especially the United Nations, is it a question mark, right, on their credibility? And so Kashmiris, innocent Kashmiris, are looking towards the United Nations, and it's been more than 17 years, and 500,000 people have been killed in India occupied Jammu and Kashmir. More than 13,000 women have been raped and molested by Indian Army. Orphans, there was a report, more than 200,000 orphans at the moment in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. And you have heard about black laws, half widows. I can say, the people say this is a paradise on earth, but India has changed the definition of Kashmir. Now it is a land of oppression. It is a land which is the most militarized area in the world. It has become an open air prison. I'm very thankful to the former president of the United Nations General Assembly, Morgan Lokatov, because he sent us a message, a video message for the people of Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, most of our speakers couldn't attend this seminar. So once again, I'm very thankful to the former president of the United Nations General Assembly. They sent us a message, and this is the best way to expose the brutal face of India. And India, through digital media, through Bollywood movies, they are showing this is a very peaceful India. But we have seen what kind of peaceful India is that. You have, I think so, you have read the news about Amnesty International yesterday. They have frozen all the accounts of Amnesty Internationals, and they put pressure on Amnesty International and all those organizations to leave India and then stop their activities. So such kind of, this is neutral organization, Amnesty International. They have access every part of the world, and they give reports. And there was a BBC news yesterday, in detailed news I have on, if you go on the Google and search about India hold the activities of Amnesty International, you can find detailed report on BBC. So such kind of, we need to expose the so-called largest democracy, what they are doing with their minorities. So it is responsibility of the world community to come forward and put pressure in India and stop human rights violations in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. I would like to request the media team to show the former president, the United Nations General Assembly's video, please. Video message, please. Thank you.
My name is Mogens Lykketoft. For nearly 40 years I have been member of the Danish Parliament. I have served as foreign minister, and in 2015 to 2016 I was the president of the United Nations General Assembly. The international community has over the years repeatedly, in the last more than 70 years actually, called for a peaceful and just solution for the people of Kashmir. unfortunately without success. The limited autonomy of the Indian-controlled part of Kashmir has recently been totally erased, and there are no longer limitations for people outside to settle in Kashmir. And over the years there has been grave violations of human rights in the country, and tragic lives have been lost. I see strong parallels in the situation for the people of Kashmir and the people of Palestine. The world needs to put much more pressure on those who control their lands in order to restore peace and restore freedom for the two peoples under arbitrary military rule. Much more international attention to the grave situation in Kashmir, and much more international support and solidarity is needed. I understand that you, the people of Kashmir, has already waited for all too long for freedom and justice. But I am convinced that armed resistance and terrorist attacks only means more loss of human lives, more cruelty, and more oppression. It brings no possibility whatsoever for progress in the rights of the people of Kashmir. Armed struggle will never be able to change the geopolitical facts in the region. The only constructive way forward is a non-violent, persistent local resistance to the situation, and a combination with a strong pressure from international governments, international civil society, to bring the Indian and Pakistani governments to agree on de-escalation and restoring of civil and human rights for the people of Kashmir. I convey my sincere greetings to your meeting and your struggle for peaceful change of the situation. And my hope is for a much better future for the people of Kashmir.
Thank you very much, former President of the United Nations General Assembly. As you know that we are seeking for peaceful resolution of this dispute, but I need to remind to the United Nations, you promised our ancestors in 1948, in 1949, we had trained 60,000 people who liberated this part, and they fought against India for 7 months. Just let you remind you, after 7 months, Pakistan army entered and defended those liberated part of Azad Jammu and Kashmir, and Gilgit-Baltistan was liberated by the Gilgiti and Balti people, and Pakistan army defended that part as well. On that time, United Nations promised to our ancestors, put your weapons aside and we will find a peaceful resolution of this dispute. And we can see it's been more than 17 years. And those people now, most of them are died now, and most of them are alive. And they thinking, at the moment they're thinking that the international community deceived them. On that time, they said they're going to hold a plebiscite, and that generation, they feel like, they say they've been betrayed by the international community. And afterwards, and Nehru promised as well to the people of Jammu and Kashmir, whatever the solution of Jammu and Kashmir, the people of Jammu and Kashmir wants, that will be accepted by the Indian government. And now India has strengthened its occupation. They have deployed more army and more, and day by day they're increasing their army in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. At the moment 900,000 Indian troops are deployed in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Now people like me, Mahmood Sharif, Ijaz Ahmed, Zaid Saab, these people and people like you, all of us are seeking a peaceful resolution. But those people who are dying there, our youth in Azad Jammu and Kashmir, they're asking, what is the outcome of your protests? What is the outcome of your seminars? Have you been able to save the people of Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir? So we have a no answer for them, because I've been and my colleagues been lobbying in British Parliament and the United Nations, European Parliament across the world. And day by day, the pressure is increasing in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. So that youth is very angry. Have you seen those videos when they imposed brutal lockdown in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir, 5th August 2019, and abrogated Article 370 and 35A? Our angry youth, who are angry with us as well, were angry with our leadership, because we haven't been able to deliver anything to them. They marched towards line of control, and they said, "Huni lakir tod do, aar par jod do." This was a slogan of those people. But on that time, Pakistan government adopted the policy of restraint, because Pakistani government knew that they are facing the fascist regime at the moment, and Modi is trying to divert this situation, and fascism could trigger nuclear war between this region, and it would be harmful for the South Asia region. It could be harmful for across the world, because 1.5 billion consumer market depends. World economy depends on 1.5 million consumer market, which is in India and Pakistan. So it could be destroyed. So there are most of the reasons, and the current Prime Minister of Pakistan adopted the policy of restraint, and he didn't want to throw that region into the nuclear war. But it doesn't mean we are scared. It doesn't mean we have compromised on the issue of Kashmir. But we send the message to the world community. This is time to act on this situation. If you don't react, is not today, could be day after tomorrow, could be after 1 year, 2 years. If this government stays in power in India, Modi fascist regime, they can throw this region into the nuclear war, and these consequences will be very bad for the South Asia region and whole the world, across the world. Now, I'm gonna invite Raja Said. He's gonna represent World Muslim Congress. I would like to request him to say a few words. Raja Said Saab.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, Raja Fahim Kiani Saab, to give me the floor. I read out जी जो current situation है, then उस पे मैं बात करूँगा. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today we are here to knock the conscience of the international community towards the suffering of the people of Indian occupied Kashmir. Fascist Indian government is a hell bent to make Indian occupied Kashmir is as the second Gaza. Ladies and gentlemen, after 73 years of military repression and subjugation, people of Indian occupied Kashmir continue struggle for their inalienable right to self-determination. Over the past 3 decades, international and local human rights organizations have documented the human violation perpetrated by the Indian Army and other paramilitary forces. Over 95,000 people of all age killed, 88 to 10,000 people are missing, nearly 8,000 extrajudicial killing, rape and torture used as a weapon of war, and restriction of freedom of opinion expression, curfew restricts, military crackdown, curfew vandalization of the public property has become part of daily life. Ladies and gentlemen, as well as all know, it is well reported by international media. What happened on August 5th, 2019? Government of India abrogated Article 370 and 35A of the Indian Constitution to abolish the so-called autonomy. Whatever was on a paper, this was done after the creating a sense of fear and uncertainty, putting entire population under a military siege, and the total media and communication clampdown imposed. Kashmir became an information black vial. Fascist Modi regime was drive its ideology from Nazis, bifurcated the state of Indian occupied Kashmir in a 2 union territory, airlifted more forces to Kashmir. All political leaderships of all shades of political ideology was put behind bar. Some 30,000 people, including children and women, were arrested and sent to the prison in a different part of India. Along with this suppressing people political resistance, Government of India is, in order to achieve mischief's goals, introduce domicile law to change demography of IOK, strangulate their economy, education, trade, business, so on and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, the Office of the High Commissioner issued 2 reports, 2018, 2019, and also reflected the Kashmir situation is updated, including it to world most worst human rights situation. Even today, we are here. Government of India continue with her nefarious design. Its armed forces enjoy total immunity, and extrajudicial killing and fake encounters continue unabated. I take this opportunity to commend the world leader who showed their support for people of Jammu and Kashmir, especially Turk President Rajab Tayyip Erdogan. I must congratulate Prime Minister of Pakistan, brave stance, take a UNGA. We echo words for Prime Minister of Pakistan that we stand with our Kashmiri brethren in their fight for right to self-determination. I urge to international media to continue reporting on Kashmir, as the local media in IOK is under harsh control of Indian fascist regime. I would like to make a request to High Commissioner on Human Rights to continue its reporting on Kashmir situation. I like to urge world power and policymakers, the founding father of UN and drafter of the UDHR will be confused in the graves, thinking this what we are drafting Universal Declaration of Human Rights and founded UN, where promised rights are denied. We perpetrators of human rights are glorified, where one interest is economy, strategic, no veil of human rights. In the last, Kashmir is the fast become the epic center of the World War III. If not addressed quickly, the 3 nuclear powers are active partners in conflict now. Act now, must now, act now. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Bear with me. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Raj sir.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to invite Mr. Ejaz Ahmed Chaudhry, Tahir Chaudhry, President, Tahrik Kashmir, Europe, Switzerland, to say a few words, please.
I will try to say something. Bismillah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, we are thankful to Mr. Pierre Ricci for the permission of doing this our conference, and I also thank our brother Fahim Kiani and also our brothers sitting in the front of this stage. Kashmir is, as I told before, is burning, is bleeding for the last 70 or 75 years and more. But the world community and media has been silent up to today and doing nothing and taking not any concrete steps to resolve the problem of issue and the problems of Kashmiris. Our Kashmiri innocent people, women, children are facing aggression and brutalities of Indian government, for the present government and of the last previous governments as well. And the world media, as I told before, hasn't paid any attention to this Kashmir problem. And they have never given any coverage in the electronic media or also in the print media. And United Nations even hasn't done anything to resolve this problem, this burning problem. And this problem is, Kashmir problem is very important. The world peace depends upon Kashmir problem. If the Kashmir problem will not be resolved, the danger of war and atomic war is be the next step. The war between two atomic powers, India and Pakistan, it will be for the whole world destructive. That's why we appeal and we demand, we appeal to the United Nations and we demand to all human rights organizations and the world media as well to pay attention this problem, the problem of Kashmir and Kashmiri women and children and everything. And it should be resolved as soon as possible. Otherwise, we have nothing, Kashmiris will have no other choice except doing some weaponry struggle. And we do demand again and again that world peace should be restored after solving this problem. I think that's enough. What could you say in English?
It's very good. And Brother Ejaz is very fluent in French and German. Yeah. German is very fluent in German. Very thankful to Brother Ejaz to speak in English. Our conference title is Kashmir Under Siege, Knocking at World Conscience. You know that Kashmir has been under siege since 5th August 2019. And Narendra Modi has adopted the policies of dark ages when king used to put cities under siege by cutting off their supplies for make them to bow down in front of their terms and condition. Same like Modi wants the people of Jammu and Kashmir to bow down in front of his Hindutva ideology. And people of Kashmir should give up their demand for right to self-determination. But the sacrifices of the people of Jammu and Kashmir have proven that they will never compromise on their basic right, which is birthright, right to self-determination, which was recognized by the United Nations through more than 18 resolutions. They will never compromise. They will continue their struggle, and we will continue to support their struggle till victory, till they get their basic right to self-determination. And that's why the people of Jammu and Kashmir are the people like us around the world doing protests, knocking at the world, knocking the door of the United Nations and the power corridors. We're going to power corridors and demanding them for the peaceful resolutions. But India is projecting there is armed struggles, and their figures were, I think so last year, 200 armed people were there. So if you want to crush armed struggle, do you need 900,000 troops to crush 200 people? Now, Indian troops are there to crush peaceful struggle of the people of Jammu and Kashmir in the streets of the Jammu and Kashmir. And they have given referendum many times. They will never accept illegal Indian occupation. Have you seen that? Processions in Srinagar and every part of the Jammu and Kashmir. The people took the streets in thousands and thousands. And that's the people of Jammu and Kashmir have given their referendum through protests, through their determination against illegal Indian occupation. They will never accept Indian occupation, but it is a time for the United Nations. It is a time for the world community to come forward and fulfill those promises which were made by you with the people of Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir and people of Jammu and Kashmir. I would say silence over the killing of innocent Kashmiris is a crime against humanity. How much blood needs to be spilled in the streets of Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir before you take notice? So I urge the United Nations, please implement those resolutions, and you can't get rid of by saying that, oh, those resolutions are passed under chapter 6, not under chapter 7, because you can't get rid of by saying that under 6, under 7, because you have already implemented 1/3 of the resolution. Now is the time to implement 2/3 of the resolution. In the last, I would request Brother Mahmood Sharif, who is the president of Tehreek-e-Kashmir, Europe, Italy. He's been this struggle for last more than 35 years. And his determination, I salute his determination, but I would like him to, because our Pakistani media requested him to speak in Urdu, I would like him to say a few words in Urdu. Thank you very much. And afterwards, I can give a summary. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am thankful to you, Mr. Ricky, President, Press Club, Geneva, and thankful to you, Mr. Fahim Kiani, President, Bartania, Tehreek-e-Kashmir, Bartania, and other leadership. आज हम इस प्रेस क्लब के अंदर मौजूद हैं. इसकी अपनी एक इंटरनेशनल अहमियत है. इसकी आवाज़ हज़ारों तक पहुंचती है. हम यहाँ जमा हुए थे एहतजाज के लिए UN ऑफिस के सामने. हमने वो एहतजाज भी किया, अपनी आवाज़ रिकॉर्ड करवाई, और यहाँ से हम उन अदारों तक अपनी आवाज़ पहुँचाते हैं जो इंटरनेशनली ह्यूमन राइट्स को कंट्रोल भी करते हैं, उसको सॉल्व भी करते हैं. और हम उन्हें याद दिलाना चाहते हैं कि UNO इस वक्त तक 23 करारदादें मंजूर कर चुका है और उन पे अब तक अमल दरामद नहीं हुआ. कितनी कंट्रीज़ ऐसे हैं, कितनी रियासतें ऐसी हैं जिनकी आज़ादी के लिए 2-2, 3-3 करारदादें आईं और उनकी आज़ादी मुकम्मल हो गई. लेकिन कश्मीरी पिछले 73 साल से अपनी आज़ादी की जद्दोजहद कर रहे हैं और वो इन अदारों से मुसलसल रिक्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं कि हमें नो रिटर्न पे ना ले जाया जाए और हमें भी अपना हक दिया जाए, सेल्फ डिटर्मिनेशन का हक दिया जाए, ताकि हम आज़ादी से फ़ैसला कर सकें कि हमने आज़ाद ज़िंदगी किस तरह गुजारनी है. तो मैं चूँकि वक्त कम है अपनी इसी बात पे एजाज साहब से चाहूँगा कि हमारा जो उर्दू मीडिया भी है, इंग्लिश मीडिया भी है, और हमारे पीपल्स कश्मीरी, पाकिस्तानी और हमारी सिख बरादरी जो हमारे साथ हमेशा खड़ी रही है और हम उनके साथ खड़े हैं उनके हक़ के लिए, वो इस जद्दोजहद को उस वक्त तक जारी रखेंगे और अदारों तक बात पहुँचाते रहेंगे जब तक कश्मीर आज़ाद नहीं हो जाता और वो आज़ादी के साथ अपना फ़ैसला, अपना हक़ इस्तेमाल नहीं कर सकते। मैं इसके साथ ही आप सबका शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ, अपने सारे दोस्तों का शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ। जज़ाकल्लाह।
Thank you very much for giving a message for Urdu. He said it was very thankful to Geneva Press Club, and I hope the voice will be raised. The voice is being raised by us in Geneva Press Club. It will be heard in different power corridors, especially the United Nations, and through the media. This event will evolve into an effective and efficient movement to bring peace and stability in South Asia region. At the end, I left one speaker, I forgot, Chaudhry Zahid Iqbal, who is President Tehreek Kashmir South Zone. I would like to request him to say a few words. 1-2 minutes, please. Thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much, the organizing committee. This press conference is really timely and is must need right now what's going on in Kashmir. Thank you very much for that. First, I like to tell you, I come in Switzerland yesterday and I visit a few places here. The Kashmir and Switzerland, the people saying Kashmir is like Switzerland, and the Switzerland people saying Switzerland like the Kashmir. Just I want to say, here I seen the happy life. The peoples are happy. The life is running fine. Everything is growing. But other side, if you see Kashmir, there is a brutal curfew. There is a innocents are dying. The India killing thousands of people, disappear the youngsters. And right now, they are killing only and only youngsters because they try to, basically they commit the genocide. So time is already enough. So I kindly request that to United Nations Human Rights Commission, if they not intervene as soon as possible. I tell you, India and Pakistan is both nuclear power, and they commit a war, and then is not Pakistan, not India, but whole world suffering with this war. Thank you very much for that.
Now I'm going to hand over to Mr. Rochi, who is the president of Geneva Press Club.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kayani. Thank you to the speakers. Now we can open the session to the questions, if there are any questions. And those who have questions, please tell your name and the name of your organization. So, discussion is open, but if there is no question, sir, one question here. I won't answer to your question because I'm not on the panel. I'm moderating this session, so it's not my question. But I don't, for the moment, I'm listening interestingly what's going on here, the speakers, but I am not part of the panel, so I won't give you my opinion on that. And I would need more information today to get a well-informed opinion on that.
If I may come back on that, the reason I ask, you are representing a very important press club here, where the United Nations is also based. And it would have been nice to have some response to you saying you are not well informed. If Geneva Press Club is not well informed for something that has been happening for over half a century, which press
No,
club
okay, okay.
That's my perception.
It's your perception, that's true. So first, we don't know everything about all the world here, and we have topics on all the world, all kind of questions, so we can't be at any time informed thoroughly on each question that happens in that world. So that's one point. And the second point, the role of our press club is to give the word to those who have to say something and want to defend a cause, an idea, or whatever. And that's what we are here for. It's have open speech, freedom of speech in the city of Geneva, and that's why also we are happy to have all parties here and who can express themselves and tell whatever. But I think it's much more interesting to have the people here talking to you. So if there is one more, sir?
So I'm of the view that the broad situation of Kashmir, Kashmir, has been very nicely narrated at sport, and I'm certain that situation that has been narrated would knock at the door of the torch bearer of the human rights values worldwide. And I do request the forum organizers that they should leave no stone unturned to bring it worldwide. Even it should be forwarded to President Trump and so-called Prime Minister of the so-called stable area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, did you want to add something?
So, first of all, I'm very thankful to Sikh community. They always support Kashmir issue, and we support their issue as well, because you are your colleagues being brutally killed by Indian Army. We have seen the Sikh genocide as well. So, the situation of Indian minorities are same. Dalit, Sikh, Christians, because the word I mentioned before, Hindutva, you should type in a Google, and what does mean Hindutva? Hindutva is neo-Nazi fascism ideology with Europe seen in 20th century. Now the South Asia region is facing this Hindutva ideology in 21st century. What they believe, the Hindutva, simple way I'll say, Hindutva believes that all those religions which have a spiritual root in of India, they are from subcontinent. They can stay there, and those who don't have a spiritual root to subcontinent, they must be thrown out of India, like Christianity, like Islam, because they don't have a spiritual root to subcontinent. So this kind of Hindutva ideology, not the people of Jammu and Kashmir are facing, Indian minorities are facing as well. So the world should come forward and stop Modi, whatever he's committing at the moment against innocent Kashmiris and minorities in India as well. And I would like, you are president of Geneva Press Club, so if you go to yesterday report of BBC, there's a news published, and Amnesty International said its bank's account had been frozen by the Indian government, and it had been forced to lay off staff in the country and suspend all its campaign and research work. This is a so-called democracy. That is what I can say, the digital India, because Modi always says digital India. This is the behavior of so-called digital India. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So I think we are almost done, and we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you very much, and have a nice day. Thank you.